Good afternoon, everybody. Myes students, hello, and welcome. And welcome to this 10 to 13 focus on a foreign visitor in your city. Good afternoon, my name is Dave. I don't know if we've met before. I am from England, as you can tell by my accent. I'm from a city called Worcester in the West Midlands. And I am a Myes teacher at Myes Filtsey. If you're watching, please, can you say hello? Tell me a bit about yourself as well, if you like. I think it's really important, as I always say when doing these webinars, that you communicate as much as possible with me. Because you need to be able to respond to questions and ask questions as well, please. If there's anything that's unclear, any words or phrases that you don't understand, please do not hesitate to message me, to post a comment, and we can communicate through the comments section. Okay, so I am waiting for you. If you are watching, please do say hello, as I think it is a really key element of our webinar today. All right, well, we are looking at a foreign visitor in your city, as you can see on the screen. This is the key language that we're going to be looking at today. We are looking at learning how to host a foreign visitor, the right things to say, the right ways to respond to questions, hospitality in general as a general topic, and being a foreign exchange host. Okay, all language that's very relevant if you have an Airbnb that you maybe are running in Italy, for example. This would be a perfect focus for you. But hospitality in general is a topic that encompasses many different types of language, which relates to other similar like scenarios. For example, a business trip. If you were going on a business trip, how would you respond to certain questions that your foreign hosts might ask you, for example, or vice versa? If you were hosting a business meeting or a talk, again, how would you respond to, or what questions would you ask your guests? Okay, then. So still waiting for people to say hello. No one has said hello yet. Please do if you're watching. As I say, interaction is crucial through the comment section in our webinars. All right, first section then. A few questions that I'm going to ask you. First one, have you ever hosted a foreigner visiting your city? Remember, in English, we don't say stranger. A stranger in English is somebody who is unknown to you. So someone from Italy, if you are Italian, an Italian person can be a stranger to you because you don't know them. Yeah, a foreigner is someone from another country, so from outside of Italy. Yeah, a Spanish tourist is a foreigner. They might also be a stranger. They might also be a friend. Okay, so foreigner is the word. So that's our first question then. Have you ever hosted a foreigner visiting your city? Number two, have you ever been hosted by a local in a foreign city? So the opposite. Okay, we're talking about a local in a foreign city instead of you hosting a foreigner. Yeah, so we've got the passive there. Have you ever been hosted by a local? Present perfect passive. Number three, what are some preparations that had to be made before the guest arrived? If you think about when you hosted a foreign visitor or a tourist. And finally, what are some potential problems to consider? Okay, so I want to ask you those 4 questions. You don't have to answer all of them. You can answer 1 or 2, whichever you feel that you think, yes, I've got an answer for that one. Please, in the comments section, just write your responses to some of these questions so we can begin this topic properly. If you're watching, please do post a comment and tell me about your experiences. As you can see, the first question is also in the present perfect, isn't it? Have you ever hosted a foreigner visiting your city? We often use the present perfect for experiences, okay? Here we are talking about experiences. I remember that in my life, I have hosted a foreigner visiting my city in Worcester. I remember when my French exchange student came to visit me in Worcester. And what preparations did we have to make? Well, we had to get in lots of very good food. So we had to buy lots of fresh bread and quality food because he had very high standards. Yeah. What are some possible problems to consider? Well, you need to think, don't you, about basically maybe conflicts in itinerary, maybe between what you think your guest might want and what you might want, or how prepared they are, what their expectations are for the holiday. Guys, still haven't had any comments from anybody. I repeat that it is essential in these webinars that if you are watching, that you do make comments so we can interact. A lesson is about learning a language is about interaction. That means that you need to interact with me, please, by posting a comment, and then we can respond, and I can see how you are constructing your questions, your answers, your sentences in English. Okay, well, still nothing from that slide. Still waiting. Let's move on. So thinking about preparing to host, what are some essential questions to consider before preparing to host? What kind of questions do you need to think about? Well, of course, a really important one then is who is coming, isn't it? Who is coming to visit you? Okay, and how many people? How long will they stay? What are their interests? What are their expectations for this trip? Okay. And the last one, how might failing to examine the answers to these questions lead to potential problems? Okay, well, who is coming? Again, you need to know exactly how many guests are coming, don't you? Whether it be 2, 3, 4, you can't have at the last minute, oh, by the way, I'm bringing my girlfriend. Well, I'm sorry, we don't have any space. Okay, you need to know exactly who's coming. How long will they stay? Again, being very clear on that. When are their flights? So everything can be properly organized. What are their interests? Really important to know, isn't it, as a host, what the interests are of your guests, which means not necessarily every intimate detail about what they like to do in their free time, but maybe what their interests are for the holiday. If they're coming to Italy, what kind of things do they like about Italy? Are they wine connoisseurs? Do they love particular types of Italian food? Are they is there anything that they particularly want? A local dish that they love if they went to Sicily? Do they want to eat the local Sicilian desserts, or do they hate sweet food? Yeah. If you had a guest coming to Sicily and they didn't like sweet food, and you brought them a massive plate of cassata and cannoli, that wouldn't really begin your your relationship off so well. So I think it's important to know what their interests and what their interests in Italy particularly. What are their expectations for the trip? What are they coming for? Are they coming to just relax on the beach, or are they interested in ancient history? Are they interested in, for example, as I said, wine, or are they just here for a relaxing holiday? You need to find this out, don't you? You need to find out what their expectations are. Otherwise, you can get off on, as we say in English, to get off on the wrong foot. Alice, hi. Hi, you've just said hi. Hello. Alice, please tell me about your experiences of preparing to host. If you have ever hosted before a foreign visitor to Italy. Okay. So, as I said, guys, please do let me know what experiences you have had in hosting people. Anyone that you know who has hosted people. Okay, so a new question then. How might you respond to these hospitality phrases? First question, how was your flight? How was your flight? How could you respond if you had a really good flight? How could you respond to that? Tell me. If you had a really good flight, if everything was great, how would you respond? Alice, if you're still watching, how would you respond to that? If I was a if I was a host and you were a guest in England, how would you how might you respond? Well, one of many possible answers here. Tiring. Oh dear, there was a crying baby. So not a good flight. If it was a good flight, maybe you could say, "Oh, it was great, thanks. Yeah, it was very quick and very comfortable." If it was a good one. Next one then. Would you like something to eat or drink? How would you respond to that? Well, one possible answer, a glass of cold water would be great, thanks. Yeah. Or I'm fine for now, but maybe later it would be great to have a coffee. All right, third question. Could I get you anything? Could I get you anything? How could we respond to that? Get in this sense is like bring to you, isn't it? To obtain for you, to bring to you. Yeah. No, not right now, thanks. Where would you like to go tomorrow? Let's pretend that you were in London and I was hosting you in London and I asked you, where would you like to go tomorrow? How would you respond? Please tell me. If you're watching, tell me, where would you like to go tomorrow if we were in London at the moment and I was hosting you in my house in Kensington? Alice, if you're still watching, or anybody who's watching, tell me how you would respond. Or where you would like to go. What things are there in London that you would be interested in going to see? Possibly even with someone who knew their way around the city. Yeah. So if I could maybe take you around the city, where would you like to go? What would be your priorities on your first full day in London? Even if you've been before, maybe you would still like to see the same places or new places. Of course, you know, in London you could go on many holidays, couldn't you, and still find new things. I would like, if you are watching, to try to respond to this question. We're in London. You've just come off of a flight from Italy, and I've asked you, where would you like to go tomorrow? What would you like to do? Where would you like to go? What would be your priorities on a holiday in London? Would you be more interested in checking out the museums? Would you be more interested in walking along South Bank, along the Thames? Would you want to go and see Westminster Abbey, or would you like to do a tour of the bars and the pubs around the centre? Anyone want to tell me? Anyone want to communicate by posting a comment so we can communicate a bit about this question? Okay, well, what you might ask, if your host asked you, where would you like to go tomorrow? You might respond by saying, well, what would you recommend first? If you had taken a flight to London, and we were in my house in London, and I asked you this question, and you asked me, what would you recommend first? I would probably say that the best thing to do, first of all, while we've got lots of energy and you've just come off your flight, I think the best thing to do would be to go to the British Museum and to get up early and to spend the morning just walking around the British Museum. And then maybe we could go for lunch in a pub around there. A few nice pubs around the British Museum, not far away in Bloomsbury. And then maybe in the afternoon we could take the metro down to the Thames and then walk along South Bank. I think that would be a good plan for your first day. Maybe you have other intentions, guys. The previous question is still open. If you're still watching, please tell me if we were thinking about hypothetical situation now, second conditional. If I was your host in London, where would you like to go? And what would be your priorities on that holiday? All right, next question then. Please help yourself. Well, this isn't a question, is it? This is an imperative. Please help yourself to whatever you need. So that would obviously include, for example, toiletries. Maybe you have a spare toothbrush, or obviously towels, clean towels, or food and drink. Yeah. If I was hosting you in London, probably I would have a fridge that would have some local ales in there, maybe some a nice steak and kidney pie, or maybe even just some decent mature cheddar, which is probably my favourite British cheese. And then again, respond, thanks, I will. Next one, again, another imperative, yeah? Please make yourself at home. Again, thank you very much. These are just a few ways of responding to these imperatives, which want the person to feel comfortable, of course. As a host, you really do want your guests to feel at home. You probably are hosting them through Airbnb. You want them to leave you positive comments about their experience. So you want them to feel comfortable. So I think making using imperatives like this is a good way, isn't it, of making people feel comfortable. And the last one, we can start as early or as late as you want. Yeah, I mean, when you have an agenda, when you have an itinerary for your guests, obviously you can't overload them with it. You need to give them the option, don't you, to start early or late, or to not impose your maybe your long itinerary on them. Okay, so again, response to that, possible responses. That would be great. I think I'll sleep in a little. Of course, if you've been traveling that day, the likelihood is you want to catch up a bit on your sleep because you're probably quite tired from the journey and from packing and so on. All right then. Now, I want you now to try, if you can, to make a dialogue. We've got some prompts here, just a couple that I have that we've looked at, a couple that we haven't. Try to use these to make your own dialogue. Okay. Again, let's stay with the same context then. Okay. But this time, let's make it a little bit different. Let us switch. So let's pretend that you have a British visitor coming to Italy on holiday. You have an Airbnb wherever you live in Italy, and you are hosting somebody in your house, and your visitor has used some of this language, as you can see in B. You are the host. You need to make those questions and you need to make those imperatives. Let's see if you can make those for me. Okay, we have the questions and the answers. Try, if you can, to make these comments on the left into full questions or imperatives, and let's see if we can get a dialogue going. Okay, obviously the dialogue will be through the chat box, through the making the comments. Please, can somebody, whoever's watching, try to make this first one, flight trip ? Into a full question. Okay, I'm coming to stay with you, let's say, as a hypothetical situation here, and you are hosting me wherever you are. What is this first question that you might ask me? Okay, guys, if you are watching, please comment. This is a lesson, yeah, it's a webinar, but it is also a bit like a lesson, yeah, that we might have in school. And as the same with school, it's really important that you can communicate. So please do write a question here in the host box. So the question would be, how was your flight? How was your trip? How was your trip over? Yeah. How was your flight? How was your trip? Okay. And I would maybe say, I've just come over from England, and I would say, oh, yeah, B would say, I'm really tired. There was a crying baby behind me on the flight. Yeah. Okay. So you are A. Okay. You are the host. Let's pretend. Next one. Next one. What is this question that you're going to ask me? Can someone ask me this question? I've had one comment so far, guys, from all of you, and I need more. Please comment, respond if you can. Make this question. Hungry, thirsty? Can you make it into a full question for me? Just write it in the comment box if you can think of the right question. Okay, so it could be, are you hungry and thirsty? Are you hungry or thirsty? And B might answer, I would say, well, I'm not hungry, but a glass of water would be great. Would be great. Okay. What about the next one? We have get and anything. Can you tell me what the question could be for that one? All right, well, that would be, yeah, can I get you anything? Can I get you anything? Well, in this case, obviously, they've asked, they've asked if you're hungry or thirsty. They say a glass of water would be great. So you need to say, can I get you anything else? Anything else? Yeah. Get, again, is like obtain here, isn't it? Or bring to you. But we wouldn't really say, can I bring you anything else? We use this word get. Can I get you anything else? For B, we just have the word not. How can we make that into a coherent response? Can I get you anything else? Probably you would just say, no, thanks. Yeah. Next one then. Go tomorrow. Can you remember the question, please? Let's pretend that you're a host in Italy. You are hosting a foreign visitor. What question could you ask them which had go and tomorrow in it? Lavinia, oh, amazing! Someone is communicating. That's brilliant. Lovely, Lavinia. Yes. Where are you going tomorrow? Good guess. Yeah. Where are you going tomorrow? That would, I suppose, you could say that. Yeah. Where are you going tomorrow? Absolutely. I suppose it also depends on if this person that you are hosting, if it is more of an Airbnb kind of situation, or if it's a friend. Yeah, if you have a friend coming, then probably you would say, where do you want to go tomorrow? Yeah. If you say, where are you going tomorrow? It means, of course, probably an Airbnb situation. They have their own plans. You don't want to impose on them. And yeah, you're asking them what their plans are. Yeah, you could also say, of course, what are your plans for tomorrow? And then the visitor would say, can you remember? Can anybody comment? Can anybody respond as B for that one? We've got the word recommend. How could we make that a full question? Clearly, the person doesn't have any fixed plans. So what could they say in response? Anyone? Okay, well, that one would be, what would you recommend? What do you recommend? Yeah, you're asking for local advice. Okay, so let's pretend that I am staying in Italy with you, and I ask you as a guest, what would you recommend in your city? Can you please respond? Yeah. If I have arrived the day before, tell me what you would recommend doing if I was a guest in an Airbnb that you had in Italy. Please tell me. Make a comment. Tell me what things you would recommend. Yeah, Lavinia said, yeah, can you recommend me something? Is also fine. Absolutely. Yeah. Good. Well, let's pretend that you're A. Yeah. Respond to that question. Lavinia, yeah. Tell me, how would you, if a guest came to where you live, what would you recommend them doing? What would you recommend them seeing, or eating, or drinking? Yeah. Of course, going somewhere could be relating to sightseeing. It could be related to eating, drinking. Often is with tourists to Italy. Of course, at least British people are obsessed with Italian food and drink. Maybe the recommendation would be all just about food, which would be well appreciated for most British guests. Tell me, how would you respond if a guest asked you, can you recommend me something, or what would you recommend doing in your town, your city where you live? I'm going to wait here just for somebody to make a comment. Please, please tell me what you would recommend. Yeah, can anybody respond to Lavinia's question there? Yeah, or that one. What would you recommend? Can you recommend me something? If you had a foreign visitor in your city, town, what would you recommend doing? I'll wait to see if somebody can respond. Okay, well, nothing so far. Guys, if you do have an answer to that, please please respond to that. That would be really useful, because again, I think it's a phrase that you will need at some time, because I'm sure you will have friends from around the world that would love to visit Italy. Italy has more UNESCO sites than anywhere else in the world, and it has an amazing food and wine and drink culture, doesn't it? It has amazing gastronomic heritage. So what would you recommend someone coming to your town or city? Please respond in the comment section. Next one then, your self-need. Oh, Lavinia, lovely. There you go. I would recommend you to visit. Okay, one thing there, Lavinia, remember, after I'd recommend, we need the gerund. So I'd recommend visiting the Duomo. Again, you could use the gerund again. Going on top of it. Yes, I've done that before. It's amazing view, isn't it, from the top? I'd also suggest you to go to Gaolenti Square. Yeah, good. Again, I'd suggest you to go. That's fine with suggest. Gaolenti Square. And of course, to try our typical risotto alla Milanese. Very nice. Lovely, well done. Two really useful phrases there. I'd recommend, ing, and then suggest. Just you go. This is actually connected to a lesson that we have in level 11. If you are in a level 11 student at Myes, a lot of this language is dealt in one of the lessons in that level. Great work, Lavinia. Brilliant. Lovely. And then next one, then, just to move things on. Your self-need again. You could say, is there anything else you need? Okay, make yourself at home, and you can stay as or you can sleep in, or you can get up as early as you want. Yeah, you can get up or stay in as late as you want. And the person says, I would like to sleep in this case. All right, then, let us move on. So thinking about a tour now, moving a little bit from being a host within an Airbnb sort of situation or a friend into giving an actual tour. Let's pretend that you are a tour guide. What questions might you ask before giving a tour? How might the guest respond? Well, what would you like to see? Example, I'd like to climb Table Mountain. Is there anything or anywhere specific you'd like to see or go? I've always wanted to see a panoramic view of the city. Would you like to see or go to the Duomo, for example? Would you like to see Castel Sforzesco? Yes, that's at the top of my list. What would you like to eat? I'd like any kind of seafood. What kind of food do you like? I love South African food, of course. And then, where would you like to go next? What would you recommend? Again, this what would you recommend question. Okay, some questions there before giving a tour, so you are clear on what your guest wants from you. Yeah, it's important, isn't it, to try to meet the expectations of your guests and to find out exactly what they want from the holiday. All right, then, guys, we've got just enough time now. What I want you to do is I want you to prepare a day out in your city for a foreign visitor using the following guide to help you. So first thing then, choose your city, your hometown, or anywhere you'd like. Plan out a list of different activities to fill the day. Where will you eat? What famous monuments will you visit? What activities will you do with your guest? And any other detail you'd like to add. And then I want you to present your itinerary. If you're going to say present, write your itinerary in the comments and present it to me, and then we can have a look at your itinerary. Okay, well, we're not going to do the voting. Don't think that's necessary. Okay. So have a think, guys. Try to use some of that language that, again, that Lavinia was using before there. Yeah, I'd recommend going, or I'd suggest doing this. You can also, if you want to make it more of a specific list, you can use your future forms, can't you? Your future forms for plans. Okay, if you can remember what the correct tense is for making those plans. And maybe we can say, yeah, it says a day out. Okay, so maybe morning activity, lunch somewhere, afternoon activity, dinner, so place for dinner, and then maybe evening activity. The evening activity could be connected to the dinner. It's your choice. Okay, try to use some of the language that we've looked at today for the plan, and then we can talk about it. Okay, guys, we have only got 10 minutes left, so maybe if I can give you 5 minutes now to have a go at planning a very short itinerary for things that you would recommend a foreign visitor do in your city or your town. Okay, just a couple of minutes, guys. 1 or 2 minutes left. Okay, 1 more minute then. Okay, well, guys, if you're finishing off, please have a go and just post it at the bottom right of the chat, please, so I can see what kind of plan you have prepared for a day out in your city. Good. Well, one thing that has come up then that Lavinia said before is this: I'd recommend and suggest. Remember, yeah, that I'd recommend or I'd suggest. We have the gerund after it. Suggest is interesting because you can have the object. I'd suggest you. I'd suggest you to visit the Duomo or whatever. But we often use the gerund as well. So I'd recommend visiting. I'd suggest doing, watching, playing, and so on. Okay. In Italian, you don't use the gerund very much. Okay. I think that it's something that you should try to use a bit more if you can to improve your fluency. In Italian, you use the infinitive much more. Yeah, you would say, for example, I like to fly instead of I like flying. Okay, in English, we use the gerund to give the sentence a bit more of a dynamic feel to it. For us, the infinitive is quite static, and for us, Italian is a more static language than English. We use the gerund much more in continuous forms. So this is, again, another example. I'd recommend doing this, suggest doing this. Remember, we also sometimes can begin the sentence with a gerund. For example, drinking a beer in a local pub is one of the best things to do, or a local ale is one of the best things to do in London. I would recommend the Sam Smith's pubs, for example. One of my favourites actually is the Lyceum Tavern, which is just at the end of Waterloo Bridge on the north side of the Thames. If you are in London, I recommend I'd recommend drinking a local ale. I'd recommend spending time in a Sam Smith's pub. There are lots of them around the city. There's the John Snow in Soho, but as I say, my favourite's the Lyceum Tavern. But then again, there are many good pubs all over London. So yeah, I'd recommend doing this, drinking. I'd suggest doing drinking instead of the infinitive. Hi, Alice. Hi, Alice from Myes. Alice, we've got just a couple of minutes. If you could maybe recommend, yeah, or suggest, if you could use that language, recommend or suggest doing something in Turin. You've just got a couple of minutes. It would be great. Just a sentence. Lavinia, If you have anything else, if you're still watching, if you could recommend something to do or to eat in Milan, that would be great. Please, please, if you can, try and use that formula for suggesting something else to do. Could be food, drink, activities, museums, archaeological sites. I think that's something that people forget. Lots of tourists forget that Milan is an ancient city with lots of ancient Roman ruins all around to visit. There aren't many of them, but there are some really interesting ones to visit. Again, maybe you would recommend visiting them. I would definitely recommend walking along San Lorenzo, the San Lorenzo area, looking at the San Lorenzo columns in Milan and walking down towards Navi. I think that's a very interesting and unique part of Milan. Do you have any other recommendations or suggestions for the part of Italy you're from? 1 more minute, if you do. Again, one more that you could also use. I'd encourage you to. Again, that would be with the infinitive. To vary it a bit, yeah. I'd encourage you to have an ale, to drink an ale in a local pub in the UK. Okay, guys. Well, no other responses so far. Thanks for watching, Lavinia. Thanks for your comments. They've been much appreciated. Hope you've learned a little bit there about how to host properly, or what questions to ask a foreign visitor in your city or country. Guys, stay tuned, because we have lots of Myes focuses in 10 to 13 happening every day, constantly throughout this week, and most probably going into next week and into the future. It's really important for you to keep practicing your English, and this is a great way of doing so. Have a great evening and see you soon. Bye for now.